The E3 visa is one of the cheapest and most cost-effective US work visas. It only costs around $315 if you do consular processing, and it can go up to a few grand if you use lawyers. The cost of changing your status within the US, if you're already on a visa, starts at $1,600 and can go up to around $4,000. Hi, I'm Mahalo, CEO and co-founder of Migrate Mate. We help Australians move to the US by getting their E3 visas for $499. I'm here today to help guide you to figure out what an E3 visa should realistically cost based on your needs, what route you decide to take, and if you decide to use an agent or an attorney or self-file. While I wish there was a simple single number for you to figure out what the cost of your E3 visa is, the honest answer is it depends. So I'm going to walk you through each of the most common pathways that people take to get their E3 visa so that you can pick the right one for you. By far, the most common way that people get their E3 visa is through consular processing. This just means that you do your E3 visa application and interview at a US consulate outside of the US. People who choose to do consular processing do it usually at an Australian consulate or a consulate where they're the citizen or resident of a country. So let's say you're a British citizen, you might do it at the London consulate. The total cost of consular processing, if you self-file, is $315. If you use an immigration agent like Migrate Mate, it's $814 US, because that's the cost of the service fee, $499, and $315 for the interview fee. And if you decide to use an immigration attorney, it's going to cost you anywhere from around $2,500 to $5,500 plus. Common reasons why people do consular processing is, firstly, they're not in America yet. If you're doing your E3 visa for the first time, this is how you are most likely going to do it. You'll do it at the consulate nearest to you, whether that's Sydney, Melbourne, or Perth. Any additional costs for doing your E3 visa here are related to travel expenses. So if you need to fly, train, bus, or drive to a consulate, as well as the consulate interview fee itself, which is $315 US. One potential change to be aware of is the visa integrity fee, which hasn't yet started to be collected, but in future it likely will. It's $250 US and is being applied to all non-immigrant visas, which includes E3 visas. I stress, this hasn't yet started being collected yet at US consulates, but it may in the future or by the time that you're watching this video. An interesting fact that you should be aware of is that 80% of people who get denied an E3 visa actually self-file. This is why most people decide to get an E3 visa through an immigration agent like Migrate Mate or an attorney. In terms of your specific circumstance, if you have a pretty clear-cut case and there's nothing that raises red flags, like you don't have a criminal history, you have never expressed intent to immigrate to the US, which is filing for a green card, most people in that case can use an immigration agent. Using an attorney will cost you 4 to 10 times more. And so going down the agent pathway is the most cost-effective and provides the largest peace of mind. With consular processing, it doesn't matter who pays, whether it's the employee or the employer. That's the decision between you and your workplace. There is another option to get an E3 visa, and that is through a change of status. This is a less common pathway, but it is nonetheless valid and in some ways a little bit more expensive than consular processing. With change of status, you can actually change your status within the US. You don't need to leave the US, but you don't get issued a new visa stamp. And so what this means is that if you want to travel internationally and your previous visa stamp is expired, you won't be allowed to re-enter the US on your E3 visa until you get a new visa stamp, which you have to do through consular processing. So if you want to travel internationally, you'll need to go and get a new visa stamp that way. The cost of doing a change of status honestly varies depending on your employer, whether or not you work for a non-profit, a small employer, which is less than 25 people, or a large employer, which is defined as having more than 25 employees. On screen, you will see the various costs associated with each and broken down by the I-129 form, the asylum fee, and if you decide to use premium processing. Whether or not you do premium processing depends on how fast you need your change of status. If you need it done within 2 weeks, premium processing is the way to go. If you need your change of status done ASAP, premium processing is the way to go, and you'll need to bite the bullet because otherwise it'll take months for your change of status to actually be reviewed. The change of status prices that I showed you on screen also don't include attorney fees, which might be a few extra grand. What's really interesting about comparing change of status to consular processing in terms of price is that beyond the fact that consular processing is cheaper, if you take into account flights to and from Australia, it still might be cheaper to do consular processing get a fresh visa stamp, and might take the same amount of time if you're able to get an early interview slot. What's different about change of status compared to consular processing in terms of who pays for it? Well, it's the employer. Legally, they have to, at least most of it. And so if an employer is unwilling to pay for a change of status, you may be forced into doing consular processing. Regardless of which way you decide to get your E3 visa, it's really important that you negotiate with your employer if they will pay any or all of your relocation expenses. Because not just moving to the US is expensive, bringing all your stuff across, booking flights, but also the first month or two of accommodation where you might not actually have a place to rent because you don't have a credit score, you don't have a bank account, and you don't have a social security number. These things take time to set up and are really important in terms of being able to sign a lease in the US. And so relocation expenses can become over $10,000 very quickly, very easily. So make sure to negotiate with your employer. As I mentioned earlier, you don't need a lawyer for an E3 visa. You can use an agent or you can self-file, but you should be aware of what each of those entails. Attorneys are really good if you have a very specific, unique case. This is usually because you have a criminal history or you've expressed intent to immigrate. Agents are really good if you have a very clear-cut case for an E3 visa and you want peace of mind, like through Migrate Mate. If you'd like to chat with us, you can book in a free consultation with me in the link below. Your other option is to self-file, but just remember, 80% of E3 visa denials are because people self-filed. To make sure that if you're going to self-file, you know how to do it right. Now that you know the rough costs of getting an E3 visa and moving to the US, if you are still looking for a job, you can actually check out Migrate Mate's job board. We have over 500,000 jobs in the US that are sponsoring visas, including E3 visas. And when you're ready to take the leap and actually move to the US, we'd be more than happy to do your visa. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.